Hello everyone. My name is Jeva Khani from the Department of English, Maharaja Krishna Kumar CG Bhavnagar University. It is a privilege to stand before you on the occasion on Teachers' Day. On this meaningful day, I am also sharing my presentation on the theme Exile and Identity and in Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. So let's begin. First slide, here is a table of content. Here is the personal and academic details. Introduction. This presentation explores exile and identity in Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children. Set against India's independence and partition, the novel follows Saleem Sinai, whose life mirrors the nation's destiny. Through exile, fragmented memory, shifting narratives, and hybrid identities, Rushdie shows how personal and collective identities are shaped. Exile is portrayed both as a source of loss and a space of creativity, cultural fusion, and slavehood. So next is historical context, birth of a nation and narration. So first is India's independence and partition. The story happens around the time when India becomes free from British rule and was divided into India and Pakistan. The second one is Salim's birth at midnight. The main character, Saleem Sinai, is born exactly at 12 midnight on 15 August 1947, the moment India became independent. Third one is Midnight Children. Many children were born in that first hour of independence. In the novel, they are called Midnight Children, and each of them has a special powers, a symbol of a generation. These children's representation, a new generation of independent India, full of hope, struggle, and change. Next one is Salim as a nation's mirror. So Salim's life, problem, health issue, and family story run parallel to India's difficulties as a new nation. Why this? Why this important? That Rushdie uses a real historical movement to connect personal identity with national identity. Now, next slide is on a type of exile in the novel. There are three types of exile. First is a psychological exile, second is a physical, and third one is a cultural. So we will begin with a physical. The themes of migration, displacement, and rebirth are centered to Salim's life and Rushdie's version of post-colonial India. Second one is a psychological exile. Diasporic people experience nostalgia, dislocation, and loss. Salim reflects this fractured sense of belonging. Next one is cultural and exile. Salim's hybrid identity fuses Eastern and Western tradition. Rushdie writes as an outsider of many cultures and insider of none. So now next is a narrative voice and exile of memory. Uh, so uh, First one is unstable narration. Salim himself admits that his story contains mistakes, exaggeration, and even lies. This makes his voice unreliable and shows that memory is not always trustworthy. Second one is a shifting perspective. So he sometimes tells his story as I and sometimes as he. This switching between the voice shows that his identity is not fixed but broken and unstable. Third one is a memory gaps, as well as exile in time. He explained it in Salim forgets many details and has to invent or improvise. Because his memory is full of gaps, he feels separated from a continuous contrast past. This separation is like living in exile, not in space but in time. Next is a fantasy and reality blur. So blurring fantasy and reality is Salim often mixes real historical events with the fantasy and imagination. This blurring makes it difficult to know what's true, but it reflects how exiled people remember the past in fragmented ways. Now, next is a reconstruction identity through storytelling. Since his memory is unreliable, Salim uses storytelling as a way to create meaning and rebuild his identity. His discursive narration becomes a method of survival, piecing together who he is from fragments of memory and fantasy. Next is a naming, language, and identity. First is a name as identity markers. Salim is called by many different names. Each new name reflects a stage of his life and shows how his identity is never fixed but always changing. Second one is a cultural politics or names. Names like Shiva and Parvati comes from Hindu mythology. They give character symbolic power. Shiva stands for destruction, and while Parvati stands for fraternity and creation. This shows how names in the novel carry political, cultural, and symbolic meanings. Third one is a language mixing. So Rushdie blends English with Urdu, Hindi, Arabic, and straight slums. This mix of language reflects India's cultural diversity and breaks the idea of one pure language. Fourth one is chutnification of English. Rushdie playful reshapes English by adding India's word and sounds. This certification English reflects the hybridity identity or post-colonial India. Fifth one is fragmented identity. Both the shifting names and mixed language shows how Salim's identity is fragmented and plural, never whole, but made up of many culture and personal layers. Next one is Salim as a national allegory. First one is handcuffed to history. Salim is born at the exact moment of India's independence. So his life story is inseparable from the nation's story. Whether happens to his reflection, what happens to India. Second one is the body and memory as a symbols. His cracked and fragile body mirrors the broken, divided state of post-colonial India. His fading memory shows how the nation itself struggles with remembering and forgetting its history. Third one is a telepathic link to Midnight Children. Salim's magical ability to connect with the other children born at midnight symbolize the diversity of India. Each children represent a different part of the nation, yet they are all connected. Quasi history. Instead of giving official history, Salim tells his personal version. His memory stands in for the nation's memory, show how history is always subjective and fragmented. And next one is a narration allegory. Salim's personal success and failure mirrors India's larger journey. Dream of unity, the pain of partition, political experiment, and violent struggles. Next one is hybridity and third space identity and midnight children. So this slide highlights how Salman Rushdie's novel creates a third space, a concept from Homi Bhabha, where hybridity identity emerged. In the novel, characters like Saleem Sinai lives between multiple culture influences, colonial and indigenous, old and modern India. They do not adopt a single fixed identity but instead employed a mixture of tradition, belief, and histories. The Midnight Children conference in the novel represents the multiplicity. Through this, Rushdie emphasized the importance of diversity and plurality in post-colonial India. Change the idea of a singular or original Indian identity. This hybridity is not just a blend, it is a tool for restricting colonial power. By occupying these in between spaces, a hybrid character can question, subvert, and even rewrite history, showing the cultural identity is a fluid, creative, and politically empowering. Next one is implication, exile, memory, and post-colonial self. So, Salim Sinai embodies multiple voices, showing that identity is shaped by personal culture and historical influence. Psychological and physical displacement leads to loss of roots, certainty, and stable sense of self. Next one is displacement also opens up new ways. to form identity and belonging, allowing characters to redefine themselves. Salim's recollections weaves personal and nation's histories together, highlighting the fluidity and multiplicity of post-colonial identity. Thus, this presents exile as both a challenge and an opportunity, using it to explore how post-colonial individuals construct and negotiate their identities. Next is a conclusion. So, Midnight Children demonstrate how individual and national histories are deeply connected through the Salman Rushdie explores theme of exile, memory, and hybridity identity, showing how displacement and cultural mixing shapes fractured but a creative self. Language, names, and storytelling becomes tool to reconstruction identity. While the novel emphasizes the identity is a fluid, collective, and inseparable from history and society. Ultimately, it portrays how personal narrative can reflect and rewrite the story of nation. So, thank you. Um, I thank you guys. I hope you like this video. I have also put link of Google form uh, quiz in description, so you can appear in it, and you will also get certificate. Thank you guys.